Hi everyone, welcome to Make Moments Matter, a music education podcast, where I share lesson ideas, songs, games, and inspiring things for your elementary music classroom. My name is David Rao, and I am the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. This episode of the podcast is a replay containing the audio version of a Musical Mondays live video. If you're not familiar with Musical Mondays, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I go live on Facebook and Instagram to share about the lessons that I'm using in class with my students. I give a recap of my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons, and then do a deep dive about one grade level and share the books, instruments, songs, and process that I use to teach the lesson to kids. This podcast episode contains all the audio from the Musical Mondays video, but if you'd like to see a replay of the video itself, you can find a link to the archived video on YouTube when you click the link in the notes for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Here's the show. Facebook, thank you. Okay, great. Well, let me start that thought again. So in the past month or so, I started with a student teacher. It's been great. But I remember before the student teaching placement happened, I was thinking about all of it, and without knowing who was coming and without knowing how it was going to work, I remember thinking I'm sort of stressed about this because there's just so many unknowns. You have to think differently, you have to act differently, work a little differently. And so I was a little stressed about that. But now that I have Kelly at school, she's here for another week or week and a half. It's a short little student teaching placement. It's been so beneficial just because you have to, you do have to think differently. You have to work through things differently. You have to process through and explain things in a different way. And it's been nice because it's really sort of made me, I guess, reframe and rethink some of the things that I'm doing and why, just so I can explain them and talk about them. And we've had some really great conversations, even in the few minutes between classes, talking about how a lesson went or how I might do things differently. So like today, for example, 4th grade, we had our first recorder lesson. It's the first time I've taught recorder in like 5 years because of the pandemic and everything else and all this stuff going on. It's this year's the first year we were allowed to do recorders again. And so I remember saying to Kelly, like, okay, it's been a while, like when you teach something frequently, like every year or every other year or something like that, you remember all the little things, that really help students, all the things you can say before they start or during, all the things that help. And I was like, it's been a long time and I've forgotten a lot of things and I'm really worried, so I said like, okay, well, we'll see how this goes. And, anyway, so afterwards, it was great to talk and for me to say, like, this is how I felt about the lesson beforehand, and here's how I feel now, and here's what I'm going to do differently for next time. And so it's been things like that have been really, really beneficial. So one of the things that I had that sort of thought process about was as I'm getting ready for 3rd grade. So 3rd grade does this thing called International Festival at my school, where it's this whole thing in their grade level. They research, they look at a different country from around the world. They look at traditions from that country, food from that country, history in the country, traditional clothing, things like that, all this sort of stuff. They present this sort of research project. They bring parents in for that during the day. They have food from that specific country. They have just all sorts of things that represent the country. And then historically, they've had a music concert on the same day, and then have presented song stuff from different countries from around the world. Well, last year, I was like, this would be perfect to coincide with like a folk dance night. I've always wanted to do one of those in conjunction with something happening in the school, and let's do it. So last year we did our family folk dance night. It was so much fun. We did it in conjunction with the International Festival and did like 6 or so songs with dances from around the world. And so we're planning on doing more of that again this year. And so this happens to be in the cycle preparing for the concert where we're learning a song from South Africa called the Pata Pata. There are several other songs that we're preparing, but in this lesson, that's the one that we're planning and preparing for. But when students walk in the room, what do they see first? Well, let me see if I can show you. So technology has been working so well for me today. Let's see if I can pull this up. Okay. Sorry, Facebook, I'm going to try and turn you around here. Or sorry, not Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to try and turn you around. And Facebook, I'm going to try and turn you around too. And it's probably not going to work. So let's just, hey, it worked. Facebook has changed so many things and made it so hard to do live videos and share content. So they made it harder and harder. Anyway, but here we go. So this is what students see when they come in. They're like, Mr. Rao, why are you so mad? I was like, because it's so cold. Look at me being frustrated. It's because my little Bitmoji was looking outside at the very freezing cold and it's very frustrated. Anyway, so at the bottom of the screen, so they've had we've been calling it the challenge rhythm when they walk in, and in that challenge rhythm they have to just decode the rhythm, read the rhythm, and I also say, okay, as you're walking in, look for the challenge rhythm. Once you've read it, see if you can clap it, see if you can pat it, try all the ways you can do it, and then we'll try it together. You'll have about 30 seconds on your own before we do it together. So this rhythm is ta-dee-ta, 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 ta-dee-ta. And I think that I actually changed this one at school so it's not all just ta-dee-ta. I can't remember, but in preparing for this video, that's the one I have up there. But they would just read through, they'd practice that, and then they would clap it, they would pat it, they maybe would snap it, just whatever they can do to make sure that they are able to do that rhythm. And that's what we've done for the last few weeks. But now we started adding in solfege underneath the notes. So this one, when kids walk in, I have them read it, I have them clap it, I have them pat it, and then I say, see those little letters? What do you think those mean? And this was a really fun conversation because then they say, oh, it might be the solfege. Is it the solfege? And one kid goes, no, that's an I. It can't be. There's no solfege with an I. And I was like, well, actually, solfege is almost always lowercase. So that's not an I. It's a what? And they're like, oh, it's an L. Okay, so SSL, SSM, SLS, MRD. Oh my, okay, what could those be? And so then we walk through so, la, so, me, so, la, so, mi, re, do. So it's a very, very simple rhythm. The first few weeks, we just got them prepared to just clap or pat or read, right? And now we're adding a level of complexity. We're adding solfege in. So we have them figure out that it's solfege, we read it through, and then I say, you know what, just echo me for a minute, and we just sing back some patterns like so, me, so, me. They sing that so, la, so, la, so. They sing it so, me, do, they sing back and forth, just a couple of patterns, just so that they have that sort of pitch relationship and interval relationship sort of fresh in their head. And then I say, okay, great, now that we've sung a couple things, let's try and sing this line. So then we go so, la, so, me, so, la, so. That's always tricky. Mi, re, do. Anytime you split the beat up between two different solfege syllables, that's really tricky when they're decoding like this. So the first measure, fine. So, la, so, me. The next one's tricky. So, la, so, mi, re, do. Right. And then I say, we get through, we try it, we do it a couple times, and then I say, actually, I'm going to change one thing. And then let's see if you can figure out where it is. So instead of doing the solfege, I sit down at the piano and I play it bum 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 bum. That's your bass line. That's it. Without the solfege syllables, that's just the melody. But now I'm going to change something. See if you can find where the change is. Bum 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 bum. And they can almost immediately figure out it's the end, the last beat in the first measure, because it is very, very different, right? Bum, 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 bum. I play something completely, totally different. Just they absolutely know, okay, that was something different. Okay, let me try again. I'm going to change somewhere different. And we'll see if you can figure out where it is. Bum, 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 bum. So, okay, that was the same place. But what was it? Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Ooh, actually, if you're listening, it sounds very similar to the first one. So, la, so, ba. What would that be? So, la. Yeah, okay, so we sort of work through. All right, let me change it. I will change it in a different place this time. Let me see if you can figure it out. Bum, 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 bum. And then I slow it down. Let me try it again. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. And usually they figure out instead of so, la, so, it went to so, la, la. And I just like go in and I change one little thing, one solfege, or maybe change a rhythm or change just one thing in that process so that as they're going through, they have to listen for what is different and try and figure out what is different. And then if we're able to figure out what that difference is, even if they just figure out where the difference is, that's a great start, right? But then if they can figure out how it's different, what makes it different, why it's different, that is great. This whole process takes 2 minutes, maybe 3. It depends on how well they do, how well they process. And so that's a really super cool, valuable skill. I want them to be able to... first of all, to read and decode, to be able to add solfege, to be able to read the rhythms, pat the rhythms, play the rhythms, sing the rhythms. I want them to do all of that. And then I also want them to understand and hear when there are differences. For a couple reasons. One, because then, there's the obvious thing if you think about like a director, like, oh, well, then if there's a mistake, they'll be able to catch it. They'll be able to know what it should sound like and be able to change it. That's one thing. But also I want them to know, like, are there differences? Can you sing one thing and hear another? Can you spot what's out of place? Can you hear it and know what's correct? And then, all these things I want them to be able to do. But mostly I want them to be able to like find patterns, find commonalities, find differences, and then think and act on those. So then after this like quick beginning activity, and I'll say if you do it every time, it gets better and better and better and better and better. So if you're doing like a challenge rhythm, a challenge solfege, a challenge whatever, it gets better and better and better every time. The more they do it with frequency, the better they'll be. It doesn't have to be very long. It doesn't have to be a whole lesson. It can just be just a few minutes, and it's totally worth it. Okay, so then we go and in this lesson, in the previous lesson, we learned this dance called the Pata Pata. It's a line dance. The version I did is a line dance. There's this great book. I think I have it. Oh, yes, I do. Back here, this book called Teaching Movement and Dance, A Sequential Approach to Rhythmic Movement by Phyllis Weichert. This is a great book. Totally worth having. Just full of so many different songs and dances and things that you can do. And it's written pretty sequential. You have to understand how to read Phyllis's special dance instructions. But once you do, you can read pretty much everything in the book. There are tons and tons and tons of songs. In fact, a lot of my songs for that folk dance night, the International Folk Dance Night, are in this book. And the version of the Pata Pata I'm using is from her book. But you can find different versions of it sort of all around. Anyway, we've learned a couple different dances. In the previous lesson, we learned how to do this dance. And when we learned how to do it, I taught a couple different ways. I found, and I've learned from other people, I've learned from other teachers, that when you teach something, kids learn in lots of different ways, so you have to give different examples. Sometimes a written example on the board is really helpful if you use a language or a system that they understand. With like written prompts. Sometimes kids need to see you do it. Many kids need to try it themselves, see you do it, try it themselves, see you do it, and go back and forth. Some kids they need you to step by them and like remind them, right? Lots of different things. This dance, I'll just try and explain it really quickly and show you a couple modifications that I did with the instructional part. So we're all standing, all facing one direction, and I say, great, the first part, you just take your right foot and you tap out to the right, and you go right, right, and then you tap to your left, left, left. So it goes right, right, left, left. Easy peasy, that's the first step. And that's not always easy peasy for kids, but we go through and we try it and we work through it. Then I say, okay, imagine these are my feet. Okay, and actually I'll turn around so you can sort of see what kids see. So, because not all kids in my class can see my feet actually moving. So I found that if I hold my hands up above my head and show them the backs of my hands and I say, this is what I see. Imagine this is what I see when I'm looking down at my feet from my vantage point. Okay, here are my feet, right? Okay, so when the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our feet and we're going to look like a penguin. And penguins, you keep your heels together and your toes sort of point out. That's sort of a penguin shape, right? So, or maybe isn't that first position in dancing? First position. Anyway, so your feet are like normal, and then you point your toes out. That's like a penguin. Okay, Now, there's another bird. If you go like this, when I was little, my toes always pointed in. My grandma said I was pigeon-toed. She said that's what pigeons look like when pigeons walk. Okay, so if you have your feet like normal and you put your heels out so your toes pointed, we're going to call that pigeon. Okay, so watch this. If I have my hands my feet like normal, but also my hands. You can see my hands. If I point my toes out, that's penguin. And if I go back, if my toes point in, but my heels are out, that's pigeon. Okay, watch this. Penguin. Don't go back to normal. Pop those heels out and go straight to pigeon. So let's try that again. Okay, so my feet are normal. Penguin. And then pop my heels out. Pigeon. Great. Why don't you bring it back to penguin? Penguin. Back. I found that when I do that, I show them with my feet. I explain it with the words. I put my hands above my head so they can sort of see a visual like up high. And I could take my iPad and mirror and show them in real time what my feet look like my vantage point down. That's another cool thing that you could do if you have that capability with your technology, to show them a visual up on the board of what your feet look like. Because then that's what they're seeing, when they look down. It'd be cool for them to see your feet do that. But so your feet are there. You go penguin, pigeon, penguin, back. That's the next set of moves. Real easy. So first it goes right, left, penguin, pigeon, penguin, back. I don't think that Phyllis uses the words penguin, pigeon, but that was what made most sense to my students and gave them a visual in their head of what their feet actually needed to do. Then you do knee, your right knee, you pop up your right knee, and then you kick with your left foot twice. So knee, kick. So in sequence, the whole thing so far goes right foot tap, left foot tap, left foot tap, penguin, pigeon, penguin, back. Then right knee, left kick, and we're almost done. Oh my gosh. You do a turn. You turn just a quarter turn, and you go clap. I don't think the clap's actually in there, but my students, they needed one more little prompt because the turn didn't take that long. They needed one more little prompt so that they had something they knew when to start over. So the whole process goes right foot, left foot, penguin, pigeon, penguin, back, right knee, left kick, turn to your left and clap, and then you start again. That's what we did in the last lesson. They've already been through this song once. In the previous lesson, we learned the song. We tried it out with a recording that came with this book, Teaching Movement and Dance by Phyllis Weichert. And then I found a video of, let me see if I've got it pulled up so I say it correctly. The person who made this dance famous, it was, why can't I find it? I think Miriam Makeba, live on the Ed Sullivan Show from like the 1960s. She does this dance, and does a different. Well, she does the song that's very famous and a slightly different version of the dance. But the kids watch it, they see her singing it, they watch her on the Ed Sullivan Show. We let her go through like once or twice, and then I say, can we do the dance we learned with her singing? Because it sounds just like the track we used. And they're like, sure. Okay, so we stand up and we do the dance one more time. In this lesson, and the reason I wanted to bring this back and talk about this tonight was, since we started out the day with solfege and that challenge rhythm and looking for things that are different and looking for things that are not exactly the same, I say, okay, you've done the pata pata, they go through, we try it like one cycle around, I remind them exactly how we've done it, and I say, now, I'm going to change one thing. See if you can figure out what changes. And again, I show them like, okay, here are all the parts, here's the normal version, here's the standard version. See if you can figure out what changes. And this time I go, right foot, left foot, penguin, pigeon, back, penguin, pigeon, back. Right knee, left kick, turn, clap. And I say, have you found where the change is? And some kids are like, oh my gosh, we have and we don't like it. So it's too fast. So instead of just doing penguin, pigeon, back. In that amount of time, you have to do basically double time. Penguin, pigeon, penguin, back. Penguin, pigeon, penguin, back. And what I say for kids is I say you need to try it at least once. Well, try it twice. You might be really good at it. Who knows? So we try it, that sort of faster double time version. And I say when we do that when we try it again in a second, try the fast version at least twice. And then if you don't like it, if you're not feeling it, just go back to the standard slower version. That's totally fine. And I give kids that choice to differentiate however they want. In case they want to do a slower version, it's fine with me. But I want them to know that there's a faster version in case they like that. And a lot of times with dances like this, I want to give kids some of those options for the variation just so they can do that. But when I primed kids at the beginning of the lesson with like, I'm going to change something, be prepared to see what changes. And then when I bring it back here in the dance, they find that pretty helpful, that they're like already thinking about what's the standard, what have I experienced, what's different, how is it different, why, and so then they're ready to go, ready to find those changes and challenges and differences. The other cool thing about this song, since it's a line dance, you all stand and face one way, and then you all turn a quarter turn, and your perspective changes, literally. I mean, you're looking a different way, but then also maybe if they couldn't see me before, maybe they can see me now. So sometimes I'll like move to a different part of the room so a different group can see me. I can be right in front of them. Sometimes I move to the center of the room so no matter where I am, kids can sort of see me. But that's a cool thing about this, because every time you turn a quarter turn, you can sort of move so they can see you a little bit better. Okay, so that's the Pata Pata. I have that video linked on the links page. I'll add this book in case you're interested, The Teaching Movement and Dance by Phyllis Weichert. And I will, since I was not, did I have my microphone plugged in apparently, or just didn't click, I don't know, on the first part. I'll just remind y'all that if you want any of these resources that I'm talking about here, you can find them on the links page on my blog, which you can find at the bottom of the caption for this video, or you can go to makemomentsmatter.org and click the video tab. One more thing, I hope that if you live in Idaho, you already know, but just in case, not this Saturday, but in 2 weeks, I'm going to be in Boise at the Idaho Orff chapter. I hope you will join us for a whole day of workshop and fun and learning and excitement. So if you're in Idaho or near Idaho and you want to come join us, that'd be great. It'd be so nice to see y'all there. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. Sorry the sound didn't work right away, Facebook. I will make sure I plug everything in correctly next time, but thank you for letting me know. I hope y'all have a great week with your students, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.